everybody, it's Romania Black, and we have just finished season 6 of Natsume's Book of Friends, but we have a couple OVAs and maybe a movie to get through this month, so we're just gonna kick it off. Now, I talked to the moderator, and they told me I could go ahead and read volume 17 now that I'm done with season 6, but I have to hold off after this week until at least the OVAs are done before getting into volumes 18 and 19, and I think I'm just gonna wait until I get done with the movie before starting volume 18, because the movie is going to be a thing in itself. So we will revisit the manga after this week in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about volume 17 for sure. And also, I have a comment from the elusive someone, at someone, the elusive fangirl, who has been a longtime supporter of the channel. You should go check out their channel. They've got some great things over there going on. But they've been slowly catching up with my reactions, and they had this comment for season 5, episode 5. And I thought it tied really well into our discussion of volume 16 last week. And so I wanted to go ahead and just talk about it before we dive into volume 17. Now, I have not got a chance to look at the comments from last week because I'm recording this early because I couldn't wait. So I'm sure I'll have more of that when we get to the second OVA. But anyway, so, at someone, the elusive fangirl, for season 5, episode 5, which was the episode where Natsume helps Taki out, which kind of ties into volume 16, had this to say, and it's a little bit of a long comment, but it is worth talking about, so bear with me. They said, one thing I really appreciate about Natsume Yuujinchou is that I truly believe it nails not saying and spelling out more than it needs to. The show trusts its viewers' ability to read the nuances in the story, animation, voice acting, and soundtrack. That they can express more than the dialogue and exposition can, and sometimes, giving those emotions, the voices carry as much weight as a pause or silence. I absolutely agree. I think I've talked about it a few episodes ago with season 6, but this series is so masterful in how it trusts its audience and uses sound and silence and space to let you figure things out, and it doesn't spoon feed things to you. It doesn't spell it out in black and white. It lets you come to those decisions. It's so good. They also say, I also believe unspoken feelings play a huge part in the ambiance of the show, and the uncertainty helps us connect more to the characters, Natsume in particular, who can never know for sure what someone is truly thinking. But by observing and sympathizing, sometimes it is clearer than if the person actually verbalizes their thoughts or feelings. I love this idea of us connecting through Natsume and connecting in ways that Natsume connects with others. I love that. I think that's amazing. And then they round out the comment saying, that said, some of the scenes in which characters do open up, sometimes dispelling misconceptions, stand out so much to me in this show. A wonderful blend of showing the importance of communication, but also the ability to read and sympathize with someone, even if they haven't opened up yet. Oh, right in the cortical. Oh, right in the feels, in the heart. Such a good comment. I agree completely with that. I love it. I feel like that not only encapsulates volume 16 that we looked at last week, but just seasons 5 and season 6 as a whole. Just the reasons why I love it so much. So what can we do? But I really appreciated that. So thank you, elusive fangirl, for giving us that amazing comment. I really appreciate it and hope you like catching up to where we are, because season 5 and season 6 were amazing. So we're going to talk about volume 17. I had been curious what had not been covered yet, and I still have a tally of what we still have left to go. I'm gonna go ahead and say that the Fox's Watch, I haven't taken it, it's from like way back in season 3. I haven't taken it off yet, but I feel like it's anime original. I don't know. If anybody wants to comment down below if the Fox's Watch is yet to come, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll take it off my notes. It's bugging me because it's been since season 3, but what can we do? Anyway, so volume 17 covers a lot. 2 episode 8s. I've noticed that sometimes the volumes of Natsume both cover episode 8s of various seasons. And I'm like, why is that? The rule of 8, putting 2 rule of 8s in one volume is crazy town. But that's what this volume does. It covers, surprisingly, the contents of the second OVA of volume 5, which I thought for a second we weren't going to cover any of the OVAs. And I was like, oh, We are. Okay, so we've got to keep note of that. That might play a part in why I can't read volumes 18 or 19 yet. But so season 5 OVA 2 is covered in this volume, as well as both episode 8s from season 5 and season 6. So I thought that was pretty amazing, which there's still a lot of season 6 that's not been covered by the manga yet, so that's exciting. But the only thing from season 5 at this point we've not covered is the first OVA, and that one feels very standoutish, so I don't know if the manga is going to cover that or not. Anyway, this is the volume cover for volume 17. It features Hinoue along with Natsume and Madara kind of peeking behind. I like Hinoue having the kimono with the big beautiful purple flowers and the moths. They kind of look like variants of Butterfree. But if you notice, in the corner there under one of the flowers is the newt that is connected to Notori. So that's interesting. We're going to talk about the newt and Notori. We're going to talk about that in this volume because I was like, I got theories. We're going to see if they pan out. But I was like, interesting. Interesting indeed that the newt is featured on Hinoue's kimono. Interesting indeed. So we also have Reiko looking up at this little yokai, fluttering towards her with the little umbrella. She has a very somber look on her face, but that means nothing to Reiko. You all know that. I want to make a note here that in this volume, we start out with season 6, episode 8, which is the one with Aoi, the little bird yokai that the human has fallen in love with. And so there is one distinct change from the manga and anime. In the anime, they had Natsume going to pick up a study guide from somewhere in another town, which made no sense to me. Maybe they thought it was more dynamic of an opening than just Natsume coming home and getting groceries for Toko. But in the manga, he literally is just getting groceries for Toko. That's all he's doing. He's just got groceries, and then he stumbles across Aoi, who the mangaka loves drawing. The mangaka loves drawing dark-haired characters, for the record, because Matoba and Aoi look amazing in this, and they look very distinctly different, which is fun. But yeah, Aoi looks great in this as Natsume meets him. I also want to note that there's a distinct 2 panels that I really wanted to bring up. And one is when Aoi goes in front of the school and confesses that there's a girl he's looking for, and Natsume's like, is your friend a girl? And he's like, yes. Is that so wrong? And Natsume smiles and says, well, no. And he's very friendly about it. The moment he finds out that Aoi is a yokai, his face instantly changes. And he's like, hey, tell me when I'm guessing wrong. It's sad when I realize later that you're not human. And we've talked about that in the episode, but Natsume's like, he's like, it makes me feel bad because, it reminds me of my ability, but also of the fact that not everybody can see you and that it creates this different dynamic, right? I also really like the expressions Natsume has in this chapter. He really has some good expressions. And so when Aoi is talking to him about, wanting to see where the girl lives, he says, I realized a girl in junior high who preferred to visit the forest over hanging out with her friends or finding romance was strange and eccentric to other people. She was a freak, isn't that right? And Natsume doesn't answer that because that would be also admitting that he views himself as a freak. And Natsume does in part want to have a normal life, and admitting that kind of puts a negative connotation on his abilities and the stance that he has with his family and his friends. So the first editorial, which is when these creepy yokai show up and Aoi has to run them off, says, hello, Midori Kawa here. Natsume's Book of Friends is lucky to have reached the 17th volume. This volume reminds me of fun things, joyful things, as well as things that didn't work out very well. My editor and I spend many a long night debating various topics, working and reworking everything. I always receive such positive energy from the letters my readers send me, and courage from the people who plan all these fun projects and events that I couldn't have come so far without them. I'd like to keep working hard to draw what I like. Please keep with your support. Nice! Which, the 17th volume, 10 years into this series, and still getting into stories like this is just wild to me, the perseverance of this mangaka. So I really, again, talking about Natsume's expressions, Natsume's determined face, saying she was deeply attracted to a yokai, only to have him leave her. She knows what it feels like to lose something important. And then him like telling Aoi he needs to confront this. Like, I love it. I love it. And I love that Natsume's like, look, I am afraid of losing something really important to me, but she's already gone through it. So, don't leave her hanging, right? So then we meet her, and I love that the mangaka makes our stage 5 clinger. She's just like, tell me more, like confronts Natsume. Hilarious. Such a good scene. Then we have the second part, the second editorial. It says musical. An original Natsume musical was produced with help from the staff of the anime. Director Omori, the voice actors, Mr. Makoto Yoshimori, the composer, and Mr. Buno Fujisawa, who manages the sound theater project. The beautiful and intricate script and stage direction, the live instrumental performance, the wonderful voice actors who convey the subtleties of emotion. I was moved by them all. Thank you to everyone who came and to those who helped. That's so cool. Honestly, though, I could see Natsume as a musical. There's so much that has to do with the sound design of this series, and like the Elusive Fangirls comment talked about, that has to do with just the mood and the ambiance. I could see a musical. That'd be really cool. So anyway, one of my favorite parts is after Natsume meets the girl that likes Aoi. He's walking back and she's like, I'll never let him go again. The manga phrases it a little differently, and I like the way these panels are organized. Natsume's like, well, she's something else. And Madara says, how spine chilling. And Natsume says, I've met many yokai drawn to humans, but they all left. Then it goes straight to Madara. Like, what? Madara, were you attracted to Reiko? Was your master attracted to Reiko? Anyway, I wonder if Kaoru's plan will work. And Madara's like, who knows? And then he's like, Sensei. It just, the moments where we get the little Madara panels are so mysterious, and they get my brain theorizing in 8,000 directions. So anyway, Aoi decides that he's going to stay with the girl. And so then we have our third editorial. The Tokyo Gallery. Amazingly, they held an art exhibition and autograph session in Tokyo. Thank you to everyone who came. I received valuable feedback, delightful comments, and adorable gifts. There were many who came all the way out in the summer heat that I couldn't get to meet. It's frustrating that I couldn't do anything for them in return. The gallery hall had fun, detailed touches like creepy areas and beautiful sections for the enjoyment of the guests. I got pretty emotional. I got to keep the guest book that they had for everyone to leave their comments in. The adorable drawings and messages have become my treasure. Thank you so much. I actually love that concept that a mangaka can leave like a guest book and people can leave messages. So even if the mangaka doesn't get to meet you because they probably won't be able to meet every single person, you can still leave them a message and words of encouragement. That's so sweet. I love that. If I go to Japan, I would love to see like a Natsume cafe or a pop-up or something like that. I would be so down. But yeah. And so then we get to the very end where Aoi is talking about staying with the girl. And I like that Aoi says, Master Nyanko, I can only imagine your struggles, in talking about him staying with Natsume. And Madara says, you're so young. You let your emotions control you. I'm just whiling away the time and having fun while I'm at it. Live your life the way you want. Live the moment with what you have. I feel like, and Madara's eyes shine in that panel, so I'm like, Madara's like, don't test me. Don't be trying to insinuate that I love Natsume. Don't be trying to make Natsume think that. I'm just having fun. I'm just messing with the time I've got here, I love that. And then Natsume wondering, which of them is going to be in tears in the future, like he said. I wonder if I would be able to cherish my memories rather than fear the goodbyes. One day. Later. Yeah, later. I love that message. I love it's a message of you can live in fear of bad things happening, or you can savor the moments you have with that person while you can and let those days come down the road. They're later. They're later. They're not now, but they're later. And just live in the moment with that person. That's so inspiring. I love that. I love that so much. So then we have this 2-part double spread as we get into the OVA section. Of course, they're going to save the Motoba and Notori part for last. But I really like this cover. It's a double spread. The first one is of Natsume holding Madara, and he's got the little kerchief, and he's got his little wine glass. But the other part where we've got, we have Notori, which Notori's got his little pocket watch there, interestingly enough. Then we have Tanama, Book of Boyfriends. Tanama's there for his man. And then I thought for a second it was Taki, but it's Reiko. I'm pretty sure it's Reiko. She looks like a bride. And it almost like her hair fanning out almost looked like a veil, which is much too long to be Taki's. So it just made her hair framing it looks like a veil there. So again, we're going to talk about Notori later on, but the idea of Notori, his like pseudo friend, could be mentor character, Tanama, his could be boyfriend, and Reiko, his grandmother, all in the same picture with him. Interesting. We're going to get back to Notori and all this. And then, now this picture here, Morikawa, you've got Hinoue and the two mid ranks as like Yakuza. I don't know how I feel about Hinoue with her arm around Natsume's waist like that. Like Madara's got the tie and he's tolerating it, but I'm like, Hinoue, we're gonna come back to that image in conversation later of her with her hand around Natsume. I'm like, girl, don't be getting handsy with Natsume. He's not old enough for you, if at all. So then we get the contents of the OVA, the second one, in which Natsume goes to the house and plays tag with the one spirit inside. And this is what I was talking about. They all gather there and Natsume's like, well, let's split up. And then Hinoue says, well, you guys check upstairs. Natsume, you come with me. And Mitsuru says, quiet, horny wench. I'm the worthy one. What? Not only Mitsuru calling Hinoue a horny wench because she wants to be with Natsume because he reminds her of Reiko, but the fact that he's like, I'm the one that's going to go with him. What? Insane. And so that leads to them fighting over who Natsume is going to go with. And it leads to maybe my new favorite panel of Natsume, where he gets so frustrated. He's like, just go away. And he's like all grumbly. It's so cute. He looks like Madara. He has like little fangs. So cute. That is one of my favorite panels of Natsume now. It's so adorable. I love it so much. But anyway, so he ends up talking to the yokai like we saw in the OVA. I do love this one panel up here where Natsume's like, now I can appreciate Sensei. His barriers suck, but at least he's compact and portable. So funny. I love it. I love it. So that leaves us with the contents of season 5, episode 8, which is A World Without Distortion, as it's called. And again, we have the kimono here with Notori, and the newt is on the kimono, which I like him in the water. We'll see one with Matoba here in a little bit, but I like that. But yeah, so we talk about, it took me a little bit to remember some of this dialogue, but Notori, see, last episode when we had the season finale, Natsume talked about wanting to find a way to make the newt that shows up on Notori disappear. And here in this panel, we see Notori say, among the family's documents left behind, one day I might find a clue that will help me remove this newt that crawls over my skin. So Notori, and I had questioned it in the last episode if Notori truly wanted the newt gone, but this chapter makes me seem like, yes, he wants, or at least at the time, he wanted it gone. Now, whether that's changed or not, I don't know. But we also get this page that goes into a little more detail about Notori at school, where he bumps past the two guys in the hallway and they kind of get like a little bit fresh with him. And they're like, oh, Notori, right? The girls are crazy about him. He's got the good looks and the grades, but he's always in a bad mood. Guys like that probably think the rest of us are stupid. But Notori says, I'm not looking down on anyone. It's just that when your perceptions are different, conversations don't mesh, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. Which, it's kind of cool to see Notori and Natsume be polar opposites, where Natsume was begging for someone to like open up and be friends with him, and Notori just doesn't see the point in even trying because he's like, we're not compatible, it's not going to work. So it's interesting to see how different they are from, back then, right? And then There comes Matoba. And again, this mangaka, Morikawa, loves drawing Matoba. Look at that sly, snide little face. Like, he's so smug and condescending. Like, Matoba is just like a snake. And Notori's like, what? Which I do ship them. I like shipping them a lot now. But they're like, what? Especially when we get to the part that I want to talk about here in a little bit. And he's like, and of course, Notori is shocked that Matoba just wants to find allies he can use. I love how just sinister he looks. It's really well done in the manga. So yeah. So then we find Takuma. We meet him, Takuma, and Takuma's like, oh, Mr. Matoba, is this your friend? And Matoba's like, no, but he's not bad. I'm like, Although you could argue if you're shipping Matoba and Notori, you could argue by Matoba saying they're not friends, he's leaving it open to more. I'm just saying, could be. We're not going to say it's not, right? So there is a panel where Takuma sees the newt on Notori's hand and he asks, what is that? So there is a question of what the hell is the newt? Is it a yokai? Is it a curse? Notori calls it a curse in the manga, but we'll see. We'll see what that means. It won't go towards his leg, which Matoba says means that he's going to lose his leg, but who knows? Then we have these flowers here, and I like on Matoba's kimono, I like that there's a bullseye embedded in it, which is kind of fun because then you have, like, he has the bow strapped across him, but him and Notori are both in the waters. Love. And there's, like, the paper sifting through, which we'll talk about the paper here in a little bit. So, yeah. So, Matoba talks to Notori because Notori's not been told much about his family. He knows his family used to be exorcists, but they went out of business, and everybody else in the exorcist world calls them cowards because they had people that weren't, they slowly had people that were not, invested in being able to see or couldn't see yokai anymore, so they couldn't invest in the exorcist business. But then Matoba says this, I hear the Notori family used paper. People who are skilled with paper can even bargain with the gods. But even they can go to the dogs. You never know what's going to happen in life. I wonder how long the Matoba clan can stay on top. Who knows? But I won't let us fail. I want to talk about that real quick. Because I feel like Matoba just kind of brushes that off to the side, but we, the audience, should be like, wait a minute, we need to pay attention to that. Because in this last episode, in the season finale of season 6, and this is where I get my Pepe Sylvia tinfoil hat on, we know that Natsume's grandfather has had run-ins with the exorcists. And we know from the manga telling us this, that Reiko never married. She kept her name, and she was Natsume Reiko, and her daughter was a Natsume, and then I guess the husband took her name. So my theory was that maybe from, episodes back, that maybe Natsume's dad was related to the Notoris. I think Natsume's grandfather could be related to the Notoris. Or at least, if not his grandfather, the person that helped Reiko with the Book of Friends is related to a Notori. Now, if Natsume's grandfather turns out to be a Notori, that's going to crush that ship of him and Notori into the ground that I have, so I'm preparing myself for that. But as far as the story goes, I'm like, either it could be that maybe that Natsume's grandfather that got with Reiko wasn't interested in Reiko because of her use of the Book of Friends, because they use paper, and he thought that was really interesting and wanted to see about it. I don't know. Or could Reiko be related to the Notoris? I don't know. We're going to see. But I thought that little tidbit, I was like, I'm going to file that away and save it for later. And then, of course, this panel where Notori's like, don't miss, and Matoba's like, who do you think I am? That's a ship panel right there. And then I was like, oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. And then at the end, I do like that where we have Notori and Matoba on opposite ends of the shore. And Notori's like, we just look at things differently. We're on two different paths. And then I like this last page where he like holds his hand up and the little newt scurries. And he's like, what am I looking for? Will I ever find what I'm looking for? Maybe never. the way to be a nice person, the correct path in life. And I feel like Natsume is kind of showing him that. He's finally found the person to show him ways to be a nicer individual and the correct path, and that's Natsume is teaching him that, not Matoba. So we'll see. And then Matoba, when he takes the glasses from him and says, maybe things look distorted because they try to see through these useless things. Which we talked about that in episode 8, but that's such a poignant moment of Matoba psychoanalyzing our dear Notori. So anyway, the afterword features Natsume and Notori grumbling about something, and then Madara is there drinking, and it says, thank you for reading. When I'm drawing Natsume slowly learning how to calmly deal with things and how not to take things seriously, I look back upon how he used to be in the beginning, and I feel a little nostalgic. I'm relieved that the instability is gone, but strangely wistful at the same time. The capacity of Natsume's heart has changed quite a lot, and I know I have to keep things feeling fresh. I'll work hard to depict the changing circumstances and the resulting emotions. So, yeah, I mean, Natsume at the beginning, I like how far he's come, and I honestly love where he's at now. But if you're a mangaka, you've got to keep things fresh and without getting repetitive. So I am curious, like, what angst you gonna throw at our boy, dear? I don't know how I feel about that. And then there was a really cute additional panel of this drawing of Aoi and the girl, and he's got the wings. I thought that was super cute. She's got him by the tie. These two love birds, literally. And then we have this, chapter 68 and 69, The Coming Days. I thought it was about time to have romance as the driving motive for the story, and decided upon a pair of sickeningly soppy lovebirds. There we go. A type I hadn't tackled before. Once I got going, though, it was difficult to centralize the romance, and their reunion comes towards the end, so it was too bad I couldn't depict Natsume gagging at how ridiculous they were being. Natsume's not particularly the romantic type. He's very ace-coded, so I get that. But drawing Aoi and Kaoru was very refreshing. It was a memorable episode that I enjoyed creating. I figured that the future waiting for them is the one Aoi predicted, so I took great care in writing the story. I also wondered if Natsume having siblings close in age... I also wondered if Natsume having siblings close in age would look like this. It was fun drawing him pressing his luck. Oh, interesting. I think that's kind of cool of viewing things like a sibling story. That's kind of neat. Chapter 7 is called Games Party. I want to do a short 30-page fun story, and it was fun to see Natsume efficiently moving along without Sensei. I wonder if he just matches pace when there's someone he can depend on. I love drawing the fan club, but it's hard to fit them into stories. There's so many of them, so I get that. And then the special episode, A World Without Distortion, says this was a story I've been longing to work on. I couldn't fit it all in the parts I wanted, even though they let me do a 2-parter. So I hope to get another opportunity some other time. I'd like to show more of the dilemma and frustration of wanting to do the right thing, but having your actions distort your goals. Ooh, oh, I love, yes. I think that ties in perfectly. So I'm excited to get into the manga that discusses, the season finale of this season, because I think Notori, talking about a world of distortion where your goals and your actions don't align up, you have Notori wanting to be the good guy and do the right thing, but then the world of the exorcist kind of distort that for him and what he's assigned to do. So fascinating. And then there's the afterword. I've been able to work on Natsume's Book of Friends for 10 years now. So many people have read my manga, leading it to so many relationships. The more time passes, the more the memories add up. Looking back chokes me up, so I'll try to look forward and put my heart and soul into the work I have before me. I'll work hard so you can keep reading. Thank you so much. Oh, this volume was great. Honestly, the volumes covering these last few seasons have been really, really, really well done, and I've really appreciated them. So we're going to take a couple weeks break from the manga, but I'm really excited to see how they organize season 6 content as we move forward. So, yeah. Oh, remember how I was worried in episode 9, 10, 11 that there was no Japanese sub? For some reason, Crunchyroll does not have a Japanese sub for this first OVA. I went ahead and looked at the second OVA just to check and see if there was a sub for it, and there is. So I don't know why this one doesn't have a sub. Maybe my Crunchyroll's acting weird and it's going to be ridiculous, but in any case, that's all right. We're going to watch the dub today. I've got subtitles on, but it's the closed caption subtitling because the regular subtitles don't work. I don't know why Crunchyroll is having this issue. So you all can watch with your sub version if you would like, and we'll just see. But I'll be honest, I don't think I've watched a full episode in a long time of the dub. So this is going to sound crazy, but it's okay. Well, it's just the OVA at least. So at least OVA 2 will have the Japanese sub back again, so apologies. And then the movie, I'll make sure that I get a version that has the subs because I really like the subs and I like Kamiya's voice. But we'll just watch it this week and see what it sounds like. So in any case, we're going to check out the OVA for Natsume's Book of Friends season 6. Check out the English dub this one time. Here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Yeah, so here's the under here. Yeah, the audio is only that. And I can do that, but it won't give me anything. I just don't know. I don't know why it's doing that. That's so weird to me. But, oh well. I am glad that I get to hear this OVA, this OP for the OVAs. That's the same for season 6 because I really like this OP a lot. And I'm assuming that the ED is going to be the same as well. So cute. All right. I really love this OP. I like the shot of Reiko on the train tracks by herself. Mm-hmm. And the little flower. I was always curious why Madara got so, like, kind of like wide-eyed at that moment, but... Oh, I love this OP so much. I'm gonna miss it. All right, I have to brace my ears for hearing English because it's gonna be so weird. Okay, real quick, y'all. Crunchyroll's being weird and it wouldn't play the subtitles. So we're going to just have a link down below to the dub reaction here. I'm sorry there are no subtitles. It frustrates me to no end. I will make sure that there are subtitles in the future reactions. I'm so sorry. But let's go anyway. Okay. Well, it's good to know that the dub can make me cry just as much as the Japanese sub can. Honestly, Sunspots, I'm definitely going to be reaching out to make sure that the other OVA is the sub, and definitely future like movie series. I'm going to have to look ahead apparently. And I liked the dub. Don't get me wrong. The dub was fine. The thing that only bothered me with this week was that the streaming service had subs listed and wouldn't let the subs work, and that was frustrating. And this episode was a very good exercise in why Romania needs subtitles, because I couldn't react much because I had to listen to what they were saying without being able to process and read at the same time. So it was a good learning experience. It was a good learning experience. I'm glad I got to listen to the dub for once, like a full-blown episode. We'll be going back and listening to a few episodes in the dub because I could not for the life of me find the ginkgo tree, the Suzunara tree yokai. Their voice actor in English is listed nowhere. I did like a 20-minute dive on the internet trying to discover who their voice actor is. I can't find it. But his voice, that old man voice, I have heard it in so many other English series that voice is like stuck in my brain. I'm like, who is that voice? And I can't tell who it is, but it seems so like it plays that endearing old man voice. I've heard it so many times. I can't think of the character of the cast voice actor's name. If you all find who it is, please let me know down below so it doesn't drive me crazy. But the voice was perfect for the old man. Like, it was very sincere. It was a perfect voice. Adam Gibbs plays the voice of Natsume in the English dub, and Adam Gibbs does an amazing job. I like him as Natsume. I think he does a fine job. It's hard to beat Kamiya. It's hard for me to beat Kamiya. I love Kamiya so much. And Christopher Wekamp plays Madara's voice. And Christopher does a great job of playing Madara, but it's not as there's just a different kind of snark that Japanese sub Madara has. But Christopher does a fine job. I don't have anything against them. The standouts to me, Seth McGill playing the voice of Shigeru. Hello, sir. Seth McGill's voice, I was like, oh, okay, well, as if Shigeru could not get more fine as a character. That voice is like, Toko, lady, my dear, you did real good. That was a really good voice. I was not expecting that for Shigeru, and I was like, the fan club grows, right? And then Tanema has such a soft voice in the Japanese sub, and Tyson Reinhardt does his voice in the English dub, and it's so much more deeper and gravelly. I was like, when we heard Kitamoto and Nishimura, I'm like, okay, their English dub voices match the character from the Japanese sub. Tanema's like, took some testosterone. I was like, oh, okay, it's not bad. I was just very thrown off by it. Like, oh, ho ho. I will go back and rewatch episode 8 in season 6 though, because I really like Aaron Dismuke. Aaron Dismuke is a really good English voice actor. He plays the voice of Aoi in this episode 8. I'm gonna go back and rewatch that episode in the dub because I want to hear his voice for Aoi. That's gonna be great. And I'm definitely gonna go back to the Toko and Shigeru episode. Don't get me wrong. If anything, the English dub this week has made me a fan, and I'm like, I would go back and rewatch. And I feel like they did a good job overall. In the Japanese cast, Kenichi Ogata plays the voice of the ginkgo tree, and he's been voice acting since the 70s. So this man's 83 years old playing the voice of the ginkgo tree, and this season came out in 2000, and which year was it that came out? 2015, 2000. Natsume's Book of Friends. Where is it listed on here? Okay, maybe he's also done other voices for Natsume's Book of Friends as well. It said he was the voice of this character, but now he's not listed in the IMDb page. Whatever. But anyway, he's still voice acting now. He's in the Ranma 1/2 remake, which is crazy. At 83 doing voice acting. Kudos to him. That's awesome. But yeah, wild times. Okay. So yeah, that's really cool. I like the fact that he's still doing voice acting. I'm sure his voice, when I finally can watch it, sounds amazing as the tree. I like this OVA a lot. I thought this was a really cool way of showing that Natsume has, he's still caring for yokai. He's still got a soft heart. He's still a little bit easily gullible. I'm also glad in this episode that the yokai was not taking advantage of Natsume, because there's a moment with the Book of Friends, right? And Natsume's tempted in this OVA, right? Which I feel like is a theme that's going to come into play later on in the series, where at first, when the yokai hears about the Book of Friends, Natsume gets a little worried, being like, is this yokai going to try and steal the book from me? And he doesn't. It's hinted that it could happen, but in reality, it all makes sense when you find out the yokai's attached to the tree. The tree was sent off to the loggers. He's trying to find his way back. He falls off the back of the logging truck. Natsume's able to take him back to his tree. And I think this is a good lesson for Natsume in that it is okay to trust. Because I think with the whole thing of the exorcists, Natsume has been so concerned, which this was a great OVA to follow up the season finale, because Natsume's been concerned about Notori finding out about the Book of Friends, and then in the process of finding out, like kind of trying to steal it for himself. And Natsume's been kind of having anxiety because of that. And so this yokai in this OVA shows him that you don't have to have anxiety all the time about the Book of Friends being stolen. You can trust. You can be wary. Two things can be true at once. You can trust, but you can also be wary at the same time, which is fun. I like that a lot for his character. But yeah, it's so cute when he carries the yokai back to his stump, and there's some foreshadowing of the yokai vanishing, like him being really light when he gets there. But yeah, and then the whole thing with the promise, like that seems like it would be ominous and it was going to like bite Natsume in the back, but it really doesn't. It doesn't. And then the whole thing of the bells at the end of the episode, like we'll get back to that, but I felt like that tied into the elusive fangirl's comment about how this show uses sound and sound design to make a point, and it's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. It was done so well. I loved it. I loved it so much. But yeah, so we find out that the tree's been struck by lightning and that it's slowly dying, and the yokai. There's a lot with Natsume's Book of Friends that talk a little bit about industrialization, a little bit about how times change and things get industrialized and they're more convenient. Like he talks about the road getting rerouted to be in line with the bus route. But I felt kind of sad when he was telling that story, because he was talking about how, people used to walk through the forest and, see the forest for the trees and be in touch with nature. And now, because it's more convenient and everyone's busy, they don't spend as much time in nature. And I was like, damn, that's really true. We need to appreciate nature more, and we need to be spending more time with it. And it made me want to go take a walk, which I would outside, but it's like a heat index of 109. I'm not going to walk out in 109-degree weather and give myself a heat stroke. But when it cools down a little bit, then yeah, absolutely. But it did make me think. I felt bad about the tree, and you could tell the tree yokai was kind of lonely. He wanted people to watch, and he wanted people to come and see his shrine, and it made me really sad, because I was like, that's all this yokai wanted, was to not be lonely and have people come by and to feel someone's presence. And it made me think of like old people and people in nursing homes and assisted living that don't have people to come visit him, and it made me emotional and want to cry. And I was like, oh, Natsume's Book of Friends, why you do that? Why you gotta do that to us? It was just, And also the fact that Natsume like brought him the bottle of water every day was so sweet. I loved that. That was super cute. I don't know what Madara is eating in this part of the episode, like 7 minutes in. It feels like maybe he's eating like plum pudding or something is what it looked like. But he's also animated a little differently in this episode, or at least to me it seems a little different. So, I don't know. I like that Natsume, there's an English book of comprehension. I didn't notice that until now, where it's in English, and then he has to write in Japanese, like what he learns from it. Next to the Book of Friends, it says, have you ever seen this animal before? It's a very rare breed of animal that lives only in Japan. It's called the Yamane. The Yamane spends almost half its life sleeping. It is believed that the Yamane came to Japan long before humans did. The animal can be found in Shikoku and Kyushu, as well as in Honshu. However, no one knows how it spread to the areas. The Yamane is nocturnal and it hibernates high in the mountains. Because of its lifestyle, it's rarely seen by humans. Some people who see the animal said the Yamane is the spirit of the forest. The Yamane is facing serious crises now. Deforestation by humans has been increasing, even high in the mountains, as the precious habitat of the Yamane are being lost. As a result, the number of this precious animal has been dwindling rapidly. We need to think about why the Yamane is endangered, and if we do not, we'll lose it forever. Oh my god, well, damn, this episode's making me feel really bad. I want to see what the Yamane is. I want to know what this animal is. What is Yamane? Oh god, don't just type in Yamane. You will get random shots of eyeballs, and they are creepy, so don't just do that. Oh, it looks like the tiniest little mouse. What? A little Japanese dormouse. What? That's freaking cute. Okay. And it has like a little bitty tail. Aw, okay. That's adorable. That's precious. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, that's freaking cute. Cool. Interesting. I'm learning so much today. But yeah, so Anyway, Natsume's like, well, I want to help. Madara's like, okay. But I feel like Madara, usually if Natsume's getting in over his head or if there's some imminent danger, Madara would be like, now Natsume, let's not do that. But since the spirit is dying, he's like, eh. Although he does bring up a good point that losing spirit, he could outlive Natsume. So it's just luck of the OVA that he ends up passing in this episode. But yeah, it's just, oh, this OVA, like when the little leaves fell off the stick, that was really sad. Then we have this shot of Natsume with the three guys and Tanama's deep, burly voice comes out of nowhere. What the fudge? I'm still reeling. At how some of the voices are so different. And then Mizuzu, yeah, his voice sounded great, by the way. I want to say Natsume Mizuzu English voice actor. His voice was great. Who plays his English voice actor? Oh, Chris Ryan. What has Chris Ryan been in? Let me see here. Chris Ryan, voice actor. What roles has he done? His voice sounded familiar, and I was like, where have I heard this before? He's been a voice actor in Attack on Titan. Okay, I've seen a little bit. And then he's a narrator in My Hero Academia. Okay. Has there been something else that I've seen? He's done additional voices for series I've seen in English, like Soul Eater, so maybe that's why I've noted his voice, but cool. Yeah, Chris Ryan, great voice for Mizuzu. He sounded amazing. Also, in a way, all of the yokai, their voices sounded great. That they connected to the Japanese voice actors, and I'm not a purist. I grew up watching the English dub for like all of the series I watched as a kid, and then when I got into college, that's when the English subs became more available online for people to watch, and so I started watching the subs because my theory was I want to watch the original voice actors and in the original language with the original dialogue, even though it's been translated. But there are some shows that I really like the dub for, and I think English dub actors have a hard ass job. They've got the lip flap movements, mimicking those, figuring out how to translate the dialogue, making the emotion work while trying to do like three things at once. Not easy. I don't know if I could do it. I think I would struggle with the lip movement. I think I could do the acting itself, but I think trying to match the dialogue would be hard. Would be really hard. So, I don't know. But I feel like I like when English dub actors aren't imitating the Japanese sub voice actors, but they capture like the spirit of that performance, because you are in terms adapting from another source. So I like that. That's good. But I thought Natsume's voice actor did a really good job. Kamiya's just so hard to beat. So then we have the promise. I was fully expecting this to tie to like Shigeru or to Notori or to Reiko or to somebody that we, that's related to somebody we've talked about in the series before. But no, it ends up being about these two random women from 20 years prior. And the one girl is sick and the other girl like asks the tree, the one little girl that can see him asking if he's God was crazy, and he's like, oh no, he's like, I'm just a tree spirit, I'm not a kame, he's like, but I can't heal your friend, I don't have the ability to do that, but if you bring your friend here, I'll do this cool thing with the trees and it'll be neat, you guys can bond over it, which is super sweet. And so was this possibly a potential, were they just friends, was it potential Yuri gone wrong? Who knows? But the one little girl, she had the side ponytail of death. Oh my God, the little girl had the side ponytail of death. And it just hit me. There's they say anime characters that have the side ponytail of death are going to die in the series. She had it. I should have seen it coming. Oh my gosh. And then what ends up happening is that she makes the promise with the yokai spirit, and they do the little pinky promise, which I'm a huge sucker for the pinky promise as symbolism, because you have these yokai, these spirits that don't understand human conventions and human rituals. And so he's like, what's this pinky promise? And she's like, oh, it's, together forever and all this. So cute. The callback, so cute. And then when Natsume goes to find the flower shop next to the bakery, I was expecting us to see like the two of them as friends, but no. Instead, the bakery shut down. The family moved away. She stayed and runs the flower shop and has her child. And then come to find out, the girl died in a car accident. I'm sorry, but the way that the way the English dub voice actress said it was so, it was like she was ordering a cheeseburger. She was like, and then she died in a car accident. I was like, what? I was like, girl, you can't just say that like it's nothing. What? Out of nowhere, we had sudden death of character. I was like, holy shit. But I guess they were childhood friends, so I feel like she is sad about it, but I was like, damn. So the tree spirit, is like, oh, well, I feel like the tree spirit is sad that the girl died, but he's kind of relieved that she didn't forget about him and that the friend was, I think he's glad that the girl just didn't forget about him or think it was a dream, even though her fate is really sad. But then the girl Sachi comes with her child to visit the tree, and she has the leaf that he gave her. It had been made into a bookmark. And then the yokai starts to dance. And we establish early on in the episode that the yokai is usually only seen by children because they have like this innocence around them. And Sachi's child sees him doing the dance. And so does Natsume, because Natsume is still technically a child. Get that, Matoba? He's a child. And then, what got me was the kids seeing the leaves, and then the old man's doing the dance one last time before he dies, and it's just like, so the promise is done. Oh, it got me. The music swelling, the imagery, it just arrowed in the heart, 100%. And then he's gone. There's a moment where Madara's eyes kind of like dim, like he's like, oh, he is gone. Mm-hmm. So sad. And then Natsume just like bows to him as he leaves the tree. This was an amazing episode. I talk too much. I really enjoyed this episode and what we got with Natsume and this random yokai, and it brought me to tears. I'm glad I got to hear the English dub. It gets an A rating. I'm happy with it. There's a couple episodes I'm definitely going back after this and watching in the English dub because I'm like, oh, I want to hear that. So, and honestly, a lot of times if the dub is good, when I'm done reacting to this series and I want to rewatch it, I'm going to rewatch it in the dub because I can be doing other things while listening. So that's going to be a thing. But I will make sure for the second OVA in the movie that we have subtitles. I will be on that, so don't worry. But hopefully it was okay doing it a little differently this week. I'm sorry for the last minute things with it, so I hope that you all were able to bear with me. But this was a really good OVA. I really enjoyed it. It was very sweet, but it kept with the themes of Natsume gaining the trust back from the yokai and about, when promises aren't kept, what do you do? And sometimes they're kept in ways that you don't expect. So anyway, I'm really excited about this. I hope you all are as well. But anyway, I hope you all have a great week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, next week with Japanese subs back, we are going to look at the second OVA for season 6 of Natsume's Book of Friends. And I'll see you there. Bye.